John Fedro here with mobilehomeinvesting.net. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'm glad to bring you Brandon, super active mobile home investor, systems guy, no BS type of individual here. Brandon, I'm really glad to have you on here. Thank you so much for being on here.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
We've done this before and the audio wasn't good, the video wasn't good. So I thank you for coming back on here again. I know you're busy. Please tell sort of the, folks listening, like why we should listen to you. You look like you could just be any average guy anywhere, why, but I know you've done so much with mobile homes in such a short period of time. Yeah, please.
Absolutely. So within the last, oh gosh, maybe 17 months, I got involved in mobile homes and that investing world and just being a part of manufactured housing. Raised about $2.5 million in capital from individual private investors, which we use the money to go in and buy manufactured homes, fix up those homes, provide rent-to-own homes to folks that are looking for affordable housing, and then pay out investors a rate of return. Transition into being more active in actually buying homes for my own personal portfolio versus, just paying it out to investors. And right now I have about 24 homes of my own particular homes in my portfolio that are cash flowing. So thanks to John Fedro's system, this is spawned to be something bigger than I ever could imagine. So.
You've taken this and you've ran with it, and I love that of what you've done with this in this program. I mean, it would be worthless without you and everything that you've built up. When you started, most investors, including myself, 10,000 we have setting aside, 20,000 maybe setting aside. That's a lot of money to get started with mobiles. Did you have a crazy amount of money, or were you already hooked up with these money people, or how did that come about?
It was interesting. I had been in finance for maybe 6 years before getting involved in manufactured housing and investing in this avenue, which is more defined, more niche versus any other investments that I was involved in prior to this, and that was residential flips and wholesaling and being a vendor at residential and wholesaling education seminars and helping people obtain capital to invest in real estate. Well, one thing led to another. I had some clients that had money. They didn't necessarily know what to do with the money, and I was able to marry them with a partner of mine where we were able to buy mobile homes, fix them up using her education that she got at the seminar that I was working as a vendor, and we're able to design this funky, weird, but fun, interesting business. And one thing led to another. I was hooked on mobile homes. So went into the business with $0. I remember having I had a different mentor at the time before I met John. And I remember that mentor telling me, all right, how much do you need to make to live for the next 3 months? I found out that number. He said, all right, I want you to double that. And I wasn't living luxury lifestyle at the time. And, but, to cover 6 months of bills, I think I needed maybe about $12,000-$13,000. And I'm like, at the time, I'm thinking, there's no way in heck I'm going to be able to do this within, I think he gave me like 90 days or 60 days to do this. So I was like, all right, I'll pray and see what happens. Lo and behold, I made like $30,000 in maybe 45 days just by finding investors who needed to get their money moving for them, using the funds to buy mobile homes, getting those mobile homes cash flowing, paying out those investors a rate of return. And by doing that, I was able to get a wholesale fee. And lo and behold, made the money that I needed to quit my job, because that was the goal. 90 days, I need to quit my job for my mentor request, or I don't know if you call it a request, it was more of a demand, and quit the job, and haven't looked back ever since. I've been self-employed, figured out a system, and now I'm on this call. So it's been pretty interesting.
Yeah. Literally nothing else happened. It was just those things, and then that's it, like that. That's incredible. So Now, some of this I'm learning as well just right now, but you basically you saw what was going on, and then you hacked together. You just put the pieces together. You had zero money, very little. What were you doing at that expo? You said that you were presenting something at that expo, or?
Yeah, so it was I used to travel on a month-to-month basis to, can I drop a name here? Rich Dad Education
Sure.
Symposiums. So used to speak at these seminars as just kind of a vendor and helping people get capital to invest in real estate. Well, what we did was pretty interesting. We would get capital off of credit cards. We would stack these credit cards and draw cash off of them in a very unorthodox way, to where you're able to take advantage of the promotional 0% interest rates that you get when you first open up a brand new credit card. So as you can imagine, you get 5, 6 credit cards, and they each have $10,000 credit limits on them. Withdraw some cash off of there, you have a good amount of money, $60,000 give or take. And I worked with several investors. They had money, they had capital. We got them the capital, but they didn't have the investments. They thought they were being set up to be able to dive right into real estate investing, but maybe the deal fell through after they had the money, or maybe something happened. Now they had bank accounts that were full of money that were going to accrue interest after 12 months. They needed to get their money moving for them. So I said, what the heck? Let's be a resource. So ended up meeting a partner at one of these symposiums, who she was there to be, she was there to get the education, but she was doing something a little bit different than anybody else that was in that seminar. Because that seminar was basically, fix and flip residential homes and wholesaling homes. That was the main scope of conversation. Well, she was some small town Texas girl that knew a little bit about mobile homes, and I connected with her, and I said, hey, I have a lot of people who have money. Heard you may have some mobile homes and some deals. Are you getting these homes cash flowing? Did my due diligence before I ever married the people together. And that's kind of what happened. That's what came to fruition. And now these investors are working with me side by side on other deals. And, it's just nice to have them at the topic of my contact list on my phone. So
Seriously, those people now with deep pockets, you were hooking them up with your other friend from Texas that was doing mobile homes. Now you're doing them. I mean, you're using their money yourself.
Absolutely. So,
Incredible.
we you can only do so much business in Texas. We bought a lot of homes. I wanted to start moving that business model over to Arizona, allow her to manage what she's doing in Texas, and have my company, have the guys that work for me, just start building the Arizona market up a little bit. So, we started buying homes in Arizona back in October after I linked up with you, John, and just trying to figure out different ways to generate leads, find different ways to get homes at an affordable price for us, to then, of course, find out what those numbers look like for our investors. So it was pretty easy from there on, after the relationship is built, getting my investors, a rate of return. It was a simple phone call of, hey, would you be interested in doing some business in Arizona? That's the thing. Anybody that's looking to raise capital, I wouldn't say or claim that I'm some expert in that, but it was one of those things that I just said, let's just test it out. Let's see how hard this really is. And you start to realize that once you actually have a product, you have something that's of value, it seems to be much more easier of a conversation to have with somebody who may have money. And I remember, always knowing people who had money, but before any of this ever happened, or any of this ever became a part of my life, mobile home investing, that is, I would never have any idea how to start that conversation. Now it's a very easy conversation. Doesn't sound like a sales pitch. Doesn't sound like I don't need some 30-second elevator pitch. It's really what it is. Regardless of investors investing with me, I'm still buying mobile homes, because just like you and I, John, we like to have that cash flow. We're not looking to become millionaires off of this. It's just nice to be able to travel. Right now I'm sitting in my family's backyard and out on the farm, and not having any sort of worry in the world whether I got work back at home that needs to be done, or if I've used up PTO. I don't have to deal with any of that, because I design my own life, and it really all starts with cash flow. And saying that to an investor who doesn't have the connections, right there, that triggers a thought in the mind of, wow, this guy may have something that I could that could be of value to me. And that's been pretty much the conversation with people. And hey, do you want to get your money moving for you? Do you not want to, spend thousands among thousands of dollars? This is a pretty small investment. And then it was just a super, super, just easy, smooth sailing through the process. I mean, it's such a relationship business. It's not even funny. Just get out there and meet people, but have value, provide value to them. And I'm telling you, raising capital is easier game than you can even imagine after you have something available for them.
So the secret sauce then, if you will, besides, for someone to give you money, would you say is the experience or is a track record of doing this? It's the right paperwork. Is there a secret sauce that you've sort of realized?
Right away, it's personal track record. I mean, I can only imagine how many people did their research on me. You want to, it's always good to start out with someone who's going to install some trust in you. Now, granted, I had a little bit easier of a layup. I was put in front of some of these people because I was traveling monthly. Now, if I had to do it all over again, I didn't have the resource to place me in front of my investors due to traveling to these seminars, these symposiums. The one thing that I would do would be to find out who has trust in me, who could trust me, who can, invest in me a little bit and also be okay with there being any sort of hiccups along the way. You don't want to find some mom and some 70-year-old woman off the street who has some money in her bank account, not really having a clue about what you're really using money for. Find somebody that has trust in you, because at the end of the day, you do have some fiduciary responsibilities in a way. And I know that family and friends have invested in me, and right there, it's just an easier conversation to have too. This is for those that are perhaps new and looking to raise some capital to invest in mobile homes, and you don't have the resources. Talk to some friends, talk to some family. See what kind of rate of return you can pay them that's reasonable for them, but also not breaking their bank account. And from there, once you do right by them the first time, they're going to spread the word. They're going to say it to maybe their friends, maybe to a cousin of yours who's got friends of his own that maybe you don't even know. I mean, it just kind of starts building up. So you start really small and just kind of work your way up. And that's really what's been going on up to this point in my career.
That's brilliant. And that's logical. That makes total sense. I mean, for the folks watching this, it's either, when you get started in investing or you continue investing, you have, let's go through the options. You have your own private money. You have your own money that you've saved up. You can borrow money, like you said, on a credit card. You can use the private money. And I love you, just like, who already trusts you? Let's not try to go and talk to Warren Buffett or, put some sort of sign on the side of the road. Let's just talk to people that we already know. Or if you don't know that many people, start going to real estate clubs and, rubbing shoulders with people and talking and getting your name out there. So that was a great suggestion. Going back to like borrowing money on a credit card, just out of curiosity. And you might not know the answer because maybe you didn't keep up with everybody. But of the people that like borrow money from their credit cards, do you have any sort of insights as to like how often that goes bad? My opinion is that it's like a slippery slope, like borrowing money from credit, especially if you're so new that you would need to borrow money from credit cards, or like that was your go-to way to get money. It's like, it's just a slippery slope. Am I thinking right? Or no, you just have to.
I can name a couple of things off the top of my head. I mean, a lot of it does turn into user errors, and that could be a couple of user from whomever it is that you're working with to help you get money off of the credit cards, or it could be your own, user error itself. And I see people that will try to take money off of their credit cards. They've heard about it, or it's been, spoken through the grapevine, and they try to do this themselves, and all of a sudden they do get some of the cash off of the credit cards, but they do it in a unique way to where it causes it to be labeled as a cash advance. And unless you're, late night gambling at the casino, which I don't even encourage that, you definitely don't want to take cash off of a credit card and have it considered as a cash advance, because as you may, can imagine, those 20-25% APRs aren't gonna be sitting pretty with any sort of investments out there. So, that being said, it really does come down to a little bit of user error and knowing exactly what you're doing. There are several companies out there that offer a service to where you could take cash off your credit cards. But if I can give one bit of value to everybody, this is very simple. Some people throw them away, but every month you may, or every so often you may get some sort of mail that will, indicate, hey, your credit card that you have in your pocket, or maybe this new credit card, Mr. Mr. Customer or Mr. Opportunity Customer, comes with a blank check. And you may say, well, what is this check? And there's two checks. There's a cash advance check, and then there's a balance transfer check. And the beauty of it is the balance transfer check will allow you to withdraw cash off of the credit line, not the cash advance line. Now, with that credit line, you have a 0% interest rate for however long that company is offering it for you. You right there have cash to use from one particular credit card, and you can use that for your deals. Just know you have 0% for a year minimum, typically, give or take, and just use it wisely. So that's one tip. Hopefully that brings a little bit of value to any of those credit cards or statements or checks that you may get in the mail that you probably throw away. I know I've done that in the past after kind of understanding things and how they work. I said, heck no, those checks are value to me. So maybe that'll be looked at a little bit differently next time for those that are watching this.
Can people call up their own credit card companies and ask for one of those, or is it more promotional?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you can definitely give them a call and ask, and if they say yes, then that promotion's obviously running. It is definitely a promotional based offer. So, but there's never a problem. It was funny. I worked in a credit card business for about 4 years, and there was only a handful of people as far as a percentage of population that even knew about this, because I remember every so often you get one guy giving you a call asking, hey, can I get one of those checks? And I was like, how did you know about these checks? But absolutely. So hopefully you guys are listening will help up that percentage a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. You can give them a call and at least request for those.
Now, with all the homes, I love what you said. You're right now. You're visiting family. You're out of state. You don't have to work. You have people that get up in the morning that work so that we don't have to. So that you don't have to. I love that, and I love the fact that you're like a systems guy. You like to do something, at least from what I've seen. You do it, you sort of master it, and then you outsource it as quick as you can. My question is am I accurate? And then do you consider yourself like a business owner, business person, an entrepreneur, or an investor? Is there something that you consider yourself more than the others?
Absolutely. So first question, absolutely. Systems are the way to go. I mean, figure it out, go through the mud yourself, figure out how to get out of the mud, and then write that on paper and delegate that out. And we use VAs. I have 2 VAs, one in Bangladesh, one in India. I then, transfer over some of the stuff that needs to be handled hands-on to an employee of mine here in Arizona, where I typically am residing. Currently, I'm in Oklahoma. And the second part of your question was, remind me, what was the second part of the question?
Oh, if you just consider yourself more of an investor, entrepreneur, or business.
A little bit of all of those, but I would say the very top one would be entrepreneur. I think in anything you do, I mean, I never told myself one day growing up that I'd have anything to do with mobile homes. But I would say that I was always good at figuring things out. So I think if I had to define what entrepreneurship is for me, it would be a guy that figures things out even though there's crap along the way. So,
oh my God. That really hit on. That's so, like, that's huge.
Yeah. So I think that's more so what I would consider myself.
Okay. I especially like the crap along the way, because that's coming. What's an average? I want to talk about some systems, but before that, what does an average day look like for you? Sort of. You wake up at the crack of dawn, or are you sleeping in, and then out of curiosity.
I'm definitely a habits person. I wouldn't consider myself the best cook in the world, but I know how to cook certain meals. So when I get into kind of like a robotic phase, I kind of do it unconsciously. So, my fiance and I, we wake up at, typically 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. and this is funny, this is where I get really like systematic. You guys are going to start to learn my personality. But, I have a banana and a granola bar and a big glass of water. Then we either go to yoga, CrossFit, or we go to the fitness, go to the gym. And once we get back, by that time, it's about 7:45, 8 o'clock, and this is where you guys are going to start seeing my systems, because I know it like it's the back of my hand. And you have 5, 6 eggs, egg whites, spinach, protein shake. And after getting cleaned up, I mean, it's about 8:45, that we're ready for work. And from there, it's a matter of just finding out kind of what happened the day before. I always set kind of weekly goals, so that I don't get too far out in the future, but also kind of have preparations for when that time comes. But I really like to focus on 7 days at a time. And so that we know, okay, we got homes closing on the acquisition side, or, what homes closing do we have on the disposition side. I do get alerts and reports from my employee, and then one of my VAs, to let us know kind of where we're at as far as the acquisitions and dispositions. But I know, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're doing email campaigns handled by our VAs. We know Thursday and Fridays, our VAs are doing outbound calls to all age community parks. So we have some stuff stirring up, so we know what's going on. If there's any homes popping up, any auctions coming up, anything that any for sale by owners in the park, and the park management office will let us know. And then I have, my fiance, she's running we're really building up our land side of the business, and thanks to John, that was definitely helpful. And then also listing homes. So we have our first 2 listings under contract now. One of them is a pending sale. So nice. Right now, if I were to say where I fit at in all of this, because right now I'm telling you guys as a listener kind of what our company does on a daily basis. What I do, I guess, when it comes to the business on a daily basis, is to make sure that right now it's building up the listing side, making sure that I'm the one who goes through the mud that I was using as a metaphor earlier, to figure out how to get out of it, because that's my thing. It's like, all right, at some point along the lines, there's going to be a screw up, there's going to be a hiccup. Let's have one person screw up, and I would say that I'm probably the best one to getting out of the mud the quickest, just because I've been in this a little bit longer. And so I just start. So right now I'm working on the land, and I'm working on the listing side. So what else? Let's see here. It's a lot of communication with investors too. I would say that that's one of the biggest things that I do. I do, communicate with investors probably once, maybe once every other week, just to inform them of maybe where we're at with remodels, when their homes are going to start cash flowing, and just kind of keeping that fire, keeping that relationship alive. So that fits in there typically once every other week. And I'm sure I'm missing some, but those are the few I can think of off the top of my head.
That's incredible. And for the folks listening, this didn't happen overnight. I mean, you were chugging along wearing all of these hats at one point. How many deals do you think it took before you started to outsource? Or was it just, I'm getting overwhelmed and I need to bring in somebody? Or was it?
It's more of that.
Okay.
I started to really hand over the technician cap, take that off, and put on the entrepreneur hat at one point. And that one point started maybe after deal number 12, something like that, 11, 12. Because, up until that point, I was able to do a couple homes a month, manage our contractor crew, and making sure that things are going smoothly with rehabs and dispositioning the homes. I said, well, if I can do, a couple a month, manage those things, call a couple of investors here and there, I can do this pretty easily on my own. And I think I wanted to hold the business with a really tight grip, because I thought maybe that was the best way to do it. Then I started realizing, man, I'm a young guy, and I think I'm already starting to grow some gray hair. And if I haven't, it's going to start pretty soon, because I'll start to stress. So after recognizing, okay, let's really bring on a team. Let's start hiring some people. Let's start outsourcing some of this. We started recognizing that 2 deals was too easy per month. So I mean, right now I think we're doing about 6 deals a month, maybe. We just bought 2 homes last week, and then we close on 2 more next week. So we're anywhere between 4 and 6 deals a month, and we noticed just by bringing on the right team, especially outsourcing. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about VAs, and I used to be one of those guys. We went through a handful of them, but we found a guy who was amazing, and it doesn't really break our bank account, but it also provides him a good amount of money for living out where he's at. Allows us to, up our acquisitions to nearly double, triple. So it's been pretty nice for where we're at right now. And every day is something new. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, every day it's like you think you have your calendar and your agenda built up, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's gonna have to move. We're gonna put this in here. And I know that we've done that a couple of times with John and I. This was our second attempt, and I know I had to. Actually, I guess it's our third attempt because at some point we had some sort of hiccup. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make here is every day is something new, something pops up. So I realized that business is a very funny part of life because it really challenges you as the business owner to figure out and to discover your personality type. I've learned so much about me. It's like I'm 2 different people in a way because I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how bad at time management I was. And it's like, where did I inherit that from? And then I start looking back at my college days and I'm like, that's where it is. So you start having to, navigate your life and realizing, okay, don't do this at this time, or don't take on this while you're doing this task, because you'll end up forgetting about this task because this will create a problem. And as you can tell, this just becomes like a big ball of yarn. It's just all tangled up. And, business is just very, very funny in understanding who you are as a person. So every day I'm learning how to manage time, how to manage that, because that's the biggest thing you can do.
That's so important. I mean, what you said, knowing yourself, listening to what you really want and don't, and learning from it, realizing that we all have flaws, and by yourself, you're not, you're limiting yourself. Out of curiosity, is it easy for you are you a micromanager? Was it easy for you to delegate people to your team? And then also, who's on your team? If you could kind of quickly go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found out along the way of discovering who I was. I remember saying, man, I hate working for people because I hate being micromanaged. Well, I was a hypocrite. I was micromanaging because I was thinking that was the way to do it. And you realize that there are so many different creative minds out there that if you don't allow them to run their own course, you limit yourself because you think that your way is the best way of doing that. So I discovered that pretty early on. And I would say, and to add to that, I would say that was discovered not just by myself, but also needing to be called out by my fiance. And so I praise the Lord for her. So she definitely helped me out with trying to figure out how do we really allow some flexibility with our people. So currently we have Tammy. Tammy's my assistant slash disposition manager. So she's the first point of contact. This is where it gets really system oriented. We have, I don't know how many tracking phone numbers out there that she's getting slammed with. I mean, we had 67 inbound calls last week. It was ridiculous. And she's first point of contact, making sure we can, build that relationship early on. She's one of those ladies that you wouldn't want to hang up with. So she's just in the position. We have 2 VAs. I have a systems developer in India. He kind of helps manage making sure that my systems are in place. I'm pretty good at building systems myself, but, kind of going back to what I was saying, there are definitely 2 different types or several different creative minds out there. So having someone else put a second look to it. I then have a marketing guy in Bangladesh. He does, he took over everything that I was doing, which was a lot of our email marketing, a lot of our auto easy texting campaigns and drip campaigns for text messaging. So people are getting hit with emails from us or getting hit with text messages from us. And then also getting, he does all of my communication with Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. I mean, it's amazing. I haven't had to go on Facebook in maybe a week, and it's been amazing. I never thought from Facebook would be this fun because the only conversations I get aren't from, friends and family. They're more so, do you have a mobile home? And I'm like, all right, Sam from Bangladesh. I need you to handle all of this, so pass it on to him. And then the last person on my team is my fiance. So her and I really, I would say she's more the person who does the delegation and communicates with me to understand a system, and then she communicates that with the delegatees, or what are we going to call them? Those that are taking over the tedious stuff. So we're looking to hire. We're looking for sales positions. I'd like to be able to have somebody really focus on our relationships. Hey, dog's getting spooked.
Sees the deer.
I don't know. It might be a deer. We might. Hopefully, we got some people's attention. But any minute now, maybe we'll have a couple of horses run back here.
Oh, the horses. So, cool.
But yeah, so we're certainly growing. We're still in the growth phase, and we realize every day, you can add this to the business and make it profitable. Who do we hire to take on that spot?
That's so incredible. Plus, we're talking about mobile homes here. Like, you still have other areas to go to. There's still mobile homes on land. There's still you're just getting into listings now. I mean, and it's only been like a handful of months. This is like seriously amazing. Like, and mobile homes, although I've sort of, built my career around them, this is just like one, niche for you. This isn't, you're going to be doing other like once you get your mobile home business set up, is it your goal to then go do something else, or do you sort of always want to be involved in mobile homes? Or
I think at this point in my life, I have a very strong passion for manufactured mobile homes. But I think our end goal, as her and I continue to grow, we would love to get into maybe some syndication for apartment complexes, go into commercial. That is something that I've always had in the back of my mind. But right now, I'm just fascinated with how fun mobile homes are. It's just like weirdly enough, there's two different communities, I would say. There's a trailer park and then there's a manufactured home community. Now, I get a little scared when I go into the trailer parks. Those are the 1-star, 2-star parks, or trailer parks, whatever you want to call them. But when you go into a 3+ star community, gate opens and you can see potential, it gets me excited. So I would say that right now I'm I'm just happy with like the opportunity mobile homes provide. And for those that maybe are watching this video and it's your first time even, seeing or hearing from John verbally, this guy right here, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even had my mind wouldn't have expanded that far to even think, oh my gosh, there are so many other opportunities outside of seller financing mobile homes. This guy right here will just help you really define how many ideas and how many ways you can invest in mobile homes. So I thank you for that, John. I tell you that all the time.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I could open the door, for you, but you bolted through it. I love that you're doing this with your family. Like, I think that's so cool. I mean, you have your fiance involved. And that's so important. I mean, having somebody that has your back and is your best friend and, supporting this business isn't helping. I'm so jealous of that. That's awesome. What is, let's see, let's switch gears a little bit. So some of the deals that you have, most of the deals now are in parks that you've closed, and it's
correct.
A combination of, so some of the home, how do you identify which home is for you and which home is for one of your investors?
Yeah, it really, right now we raise, we'll take on capital every so often. We're at a position now where we can just make a phone call and we know money can come in. So we made that one phone call back in January, and we had 3 investors invest with us, and we knew, okay, we needed to fulfill their order, if you will. We got their homes remodeled. We went through a 60-day process of getting the homes remodeled, getting a tenant in there, and then of course, start paying them their rate of return. Right now, we just finished off getting all of those 3 investors' homes, dispositioned, and they're now cash flowing. They got their first payment today, so today was a good day for them. Now I think we bought 2 more homes last week that I'm going to keep for myself. I don't think I'm going to raise capital for a little while now, because every so often it's like, I kind of want those homes. Those are good looking homes. So we'll probably raise capital once a quarter and just, kind of kind of build up our own portfolio. But I know along the way too, we have this land thing that we got going on. We have the listing in parks, which we've already seen some success with our first home that we had listed. I want to have a little bit of time to be able to figure out more ways of acquiring more, homes that are being sold by owner. And so probably won't raise capital for a little while now, but that's kind of what we're doing at this point.
The you're doing so. You have the homes on land. You have going that way, homes in parks. If you're making, I'm like think about how to say this. If you're making, let's say, the deal that you keep for yourself, cash flow it for the next 5+ years, you're making 100% profit.
Yeah.
When you have an investor, what percentage of the profit is yours? And not like number wise, or not, I don't want a dollar amount or anything, but just, like if you're, how do you make it? Because you're not doing this, it's not volunteer work, you're making some profit.
Yeah. So what I do is and it really is market based. It really depends on what the market's willing to pay on the seller finance agreements. Then you have to log your numbers backwards and reverse engineer what you could pay out to your investors. So it took me a little bit of time to figure out what the market was paying for these mobile homes. And then I finally kind of gave up, and that's when I reached out to John, and John hired him to be my mentor. And it was really easy. We found out what a comparable rent rate is, and realizing, okay, well, average rents in Arizona is $930 a month. Lot rent on a park is, $500 a month. We have about a $400 difference we can get there to mark that up a little bit. And how much do we, of that $400 that's actually going to our pocket, if you guys are following me, how much of that could we give to our investor to where it's a good rate of return? So we figured out that, okay, we need $13,000 per unit from an investor. Of that $13,000, we're using a good chunk of that to cover the purchasing of the home, rehabbing the home. We have a fee that's in that $13,000, and then also with the cash flow that's being kicked back off of the home after it's been dispositioned, we give a portion of that, which would be 15%, to our investors monthly. And what will then happen is we collect a small arbitrage. It's nothing to get rich off of if you're just collecting an arbitrage off of a good chunk that's being paid to an investor. But there are ways for the homes that are cash flowing to pay out investors for us to also get a little bit of residual as well, if that makes sense.
So you're making money, even with the homes that you have with an investor, you're making some money up front, you're making some money monthly. And is there ever a chance for you to get the property back yourself if the people in...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we've had it one time, and I can give a pretty good explanation of how that process worked with the investor's money attached to the home, which was pretty interesting. What I like to do is I always put a portion of the investor's investment that they make, that $13,000 that I was mentioning, John, I put that to the side. We open up individual bank accounts for each property. So every mobile home that I buy, I open up another business account. So every time every time a tenant purchaser makes a payment, it goes to that one account. That one account is then auto-paying the investor their percentage return, and then whatever's left over is getting paid out to my account. So there's a couple systems we have there. Well, what we'll then do with the investor's investment, that $13,000, we put a couple $1,000 away into that same fund. So in the event that we have to take back the home, maybe needs to be rehabbed because the person punched holes in the wall or something, we aren't having to dig out of our own pockets. It was already placed there, and we can go in there, fix up the home, put a tenant in there, pay out the investor their monthly payments. It takes us, we have it so defined where our crew, we know on any given property, it shouldn't take any more than 7 days to remodel the home, unless you lit it on fire, and even that could be pretty easy, So 7 days is usually how long it'll take for them to get that remodeled, and we know it takes us about 2 to 3 weeks to get somebody in there. So all in all, you're there, you're redispositioning the home in about 4 weeks. So we're able to get that all defined and pay out our investors their monthly payment along the way. So that's how we have that set. But it all starts, the number one thing is it really does start with, for those that are interested in even raising capital, it starts with what is your market offering? What's the market going to pay on these mobile homes on a monthly basis? Find out that amount. Okay, what amount do you need to buy this home and to rehab the home? Okay, after you found that amount, okay, what kind of percentage can I pay the investor? It really starts from the top. Kind of work your way down, reverse engineer it. That's what we've done.
Are there some homes that wouldn't fit this model?
So I'm sure there's several ways to spin it, and our way works, and I haven't tried anything else. I know our way really consists of 1976 homes or newer.
Okay.
So we're buying post-HUD. We know that 2-bed, 1-baths take about 45 days to sell. We know that 2-bed, 2-bath take about 30 days to sell. We know 3-bed, 2-baths, single wides take about close to 30 days as well. We know the double wides take about 2 weeks. So we know what homes sell quick. We know what homes we're going after. We stay away from, like I said, pre-HUD. We stay away from 1-bed, 1-baths. I know that anything slimmer than a 16-foot wide home takes a little bit longer. So sometimes it doesn't really even matter how big the how many bedrooms are. You can, I mean, gosh, I've seen homes you can stuff 3-4 bedrooms in a 14 by 70, and that won't sell, even though it has 4 bedrooms. If you feel like you're claustrophobic, they're not going to buy it. So we really, really know what sells quick, and that was huge. And I didn't find that out until I bought all of those homes.
Now,
So, and doing it over again, I'm like, that makes sense. That home took for freaking ever.
let's talk about that. It sounds like you get most of these homes fixed up to like a really good condition or very decent condition. And then what have been the problem homes? What have been some, things are going, we're talking about some good stuff here. Yeah. What's been some hiccups? And it was the hiccup, I'm never doing that again, or I need to be more cautious when I do that the next time, or be a little bit more conservative.
So the biggest thing that I notice is really, really getting defined with who our customer is. We want somebody that's going to take care of the home. By all means, we want somebody who's going to be proud of the home. But we get these homes up to a level where they are move-in ready. However, we don't bedazzle, meaning I don't put lavish backsplashes up against the kitchen. I don't put granite countertops in there. We do interior, exterior paint. We put nice gray vinyl floors, new backboard, or quarter round, I should say. We update the plumbing and the electrical that needs to be done. We always put a new AC unit in there. We make these move-in ready to the point where, you don't walk in and it smells like urine by any means. It's all been covered. But really defining who our customer is has taken a little while. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Understanding that you have to market your homes a specific way, because if you market your home to be fully renovated when it doesn't have all these lavishing upgrades to it, really does change who your segment of the market is. So you get somebody that, says, wow, I like that it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but I don't like that the cabinets are all white. They're not mahogany, or the countertops are just a plain, countertop. It's not, it doesn't have marble veins coming out of it or anything like that. So really understanding who the customer was helped us understand how to sell these much quicker. So, I remember our first problem home was, it was a 2-bed, 1-bath. We bought it as is, and we did a couple of upgrades. And I have to think about this. This was a while ago. And it took us a little while to sell that home because, A, I got greedy in thinking I can get a bigger down payment, and B, over-marketing it to the point where it's not congruent with the advertisement. So these were like the hiccups that I was understanding when I first got in the business. Claiming that it's a fully remodeled home was BS, and I realized I wasn't congruent. So we figured out, okay, we really need to understand how to market these homes to where they match. I like to send people to my properties, John, and not be there. After we've done a couple of verifications, they fill out an application with us. It takes them 3 minutes. Get a driver's license. We just collect some form of verification. We then send them out to the home and give them the lockbox code. I don't like to go on every appointment because we have homes all over the place. Well, if we prep them and we get very descriptive of what the problems are in the home that we didn't correct ourselves, really helps us find the right person. Because I remember sending people to our homes and they're saying, well, I didn't know that this needed to be done. I didn't know that needed to be done to the home. It was a beautiful home, beautiful park, very safe, but there was a couple of things that this customer would perhaps want in the home. So being very thorough and defined and very detailed to the point of what needs to be done to the home with the customer really gets the right person in the door, and it narrows that ratio so that we can close quicker and not waste our time sending people to our homes that aren't going to buy. So we found that out pretty early on, that really being very upfront with what we've done to the home has helped us tremendously, and not over-exaggerate the upgrades that you've done. And I know for those that may get started in this business, it's fun to upgrade these homes because you remember what it looked like when it was a piece of crap. Now it looks like 100% better. Well, these people still have a figure in their mind or some image in their mind that this home is going to be just spotless. And you may say in the back of your mind, well, you should have saw it 2 weeks ago. It still needs to be really congruent with what the average eye would see when you see the home.
And you had people getting upset, or they wouldn't counter offer you. There was like, these were deal breakers for me, and they just left. Okay, yeah.
It was walk in like that. This is not what I want. And I'm thinking to myself, beautiful home. What are you talking about? But that's because it was beautiful compared to what it was in our own eyes. We see the difference. So really being, and this is a huge huge advice I can give anybody is really be completely upfront with everybody when they're going to see your properties. And if you get to a point where you have 4, 5, 6 homes in the market, you're not going to, unless you have a team of people that you want to send out there to show hands-on. And every once in a while we do that. We've seen our numbers, we've seen our homes close much quicker when we do that. But it's not always that you can do that because maybe you don't have the full team built up, or perhaps you're out of town. I like to be able to have opportunity to close when we're not there, and being very thorough with those that are walking in the door. Hey, you may want to upgrade the cabinets here in a couple of years. They're perfectly fine right now, but here's what we did to them. Here's what needs to be done to it. We did upgrade the carpet. Really point out the things that you did do, but don't put sprinkles on a turd. Is what I like to say. Be very, very upfront with people, because people respect that. People read BS so quick. I mean, gosh, you think about how many times you've read somebody else's BS. Well, they probably can do the same thing for you, and I recognize that about myself. So that goes to say what I was saying earlier. You learn a lot about who you are as a person, and that's one of my favorite things about this part of business.
You're slowly taking yourself out of this business. You've outsourced now. And stop me if I'm not correct. You've outsourced advertising and marketing somewhat. You've advertised seeing the properties and talking to the sellers, fixing the homes up and rehabbing, getting people in the door and even closing with them.
Yes.
And then management.
Management right now is we use as far as management, the only management that we're doing is making sure payments are coming in and out. Right. I use a service provider called Cozy. You probably use it. Some of our listeners may be using it too. And we use Cozy for our payments. That's just one nice way to make sure things are coming in or out or being scheduled. I would say that the one thing that I like to delegate myself from is, in the event that a park has to communicate with me that something's going on with a particular tenant, I'd like to be delegated out to someone else to kind of handle communicating with that tenant that's ours, and say, hey, look, you're about to get evicted from this park. You need to get your stuff together. Have that conversation. As of now, I'm taking those conversations. But it's it's just one thing that we're just trying to check off the list, and every day you just find out what you don't want to do and what you do want to do. That's where we're at.
What's something that you don't want to delegate, maybe right now or ever? Well, I guess you just said. Oh no, go ahead.
I think the one thing that I don't want to delegate, hmm, that's a good question. The investor relationships, and that the raising, because my business has two forms. I have a company called and I have a company called Investments. Investments raises capital to then be able to buy homes with. Um, that's probably the number one thing because I have fun having conversations with people and really providing value. That part's fun for me. So it's like, I want to be selfish and I don't want to be selfish hardly ever, but that part I do kind of want to be a little bit selfish
Nice.
in. So I have fun keeping those relationships alive with my investors. So
Good. Good. Well, that's you can choose to do that, and you legitimately like to do that, and it's providing well, it's a lot of value. I mean, you're something that right now that you can't outsource, or you
yeah,
feel like you do it the best. Awesome. What is the changing gears a little bit? What's your average because you're fixing these homes up? What type of down payments are you seeing? A couple thousand at least, or more?
we've seen them grow recently. We've been testing it out quite a bit, and I would say that I could confidently say we're probably one of, if not the biggest mobile home provider here in Arizona. We're doing awesome. That just comes to show there's room for opportunity, but we're there to stay ahead of the pack. And I would say that our average right now is about $3,500, which is a huge jump. Less than 9 months ago, about 9 months ago, we were seeing $1,500 down payments.
Wow.
And now, granted, we were closing. Oh gosh, we were closing pretty quick. I mean, after acquisition, after rehab, I mean, we would close. I'm telling you guys, maybe a week sooner than we are now, and we're making double, a little bit more than double down payments. I mean, gosh, we had this is amazing. This is actually some pretty interesting numbers. We had a 3-bed 2-bath single wide. It was a 16 by 70, pretty long 3-bed 2-bath, beautiful home. Did some upgrades to it. This home, I was so firm on telling our guys that I want to hold on to this property for as long as we can, just to test long enough to not where we get completely, beat up on lot rents and stuff like that. But we had some free lot rent, and I said we're going to use up this free lot rent as much as possible to see what the biggest down payment we can get on the home, because we were getting people that were offering, hey, I'll give you $3,000 for this down payment, and although that's bigger than what it was 9 months ago, I said I want to try for $5,000. I'm like, let's try for $5,000. We have 2 months lot rent free. Let's see what we can do. And we just hunted. We hunted. We were having people going in and out of this property where it's during tax season too. So I was pretty confident that we can find somebody. And lo and behold, we're like on the 7th week of our 8-week free lot rent. We found somebody that could put a $7,000 down payment on a 3-bed 2-bath single wide 1987 Champion, I believe. And awesome tenant's got a good job, good record, good criminal background, good credit. Or, I think he was at about 600 credit score, pretty young guy. Put a $7,000 down payment, and boom, there we go. So that was awesome.
Did you have to sweeten the end price for him, or no? It just that's what you asked, and that's what he told you, and.
Yep, we didn't have to sweeten it at all.
Okay, no, that's what. And then that's just one off. That's just one dude. But that opened your eyes to push harder or to be more patient, or what did change, or is it just expectations got higher?
No, it tells a lot. It really does, and it told me that okay, by holding on to this property maybe 30 days longer than normal. What were the results? Well, the results were we were nearly tripling our down payment earnings. And I had to backlog. I had to look at the numbers and say, okay, well, how much more extra did I have to pay VAs and employees? Really finding out if it was even worth it, because we had to pay an extra, 30 days worth of, extra work that could have been, that energy could have been placed towards other properties that we had. And I found out that it was 100% worth it. So it really opened my eyes to say, okay, this isn't a mobile home business at all. This isn't a real estate business at all. This is a sales and marketing business. That's all it is. And once you get really good with your marketing, you get really good at finding who you need to target. That's where business is pretty fun.
Have you had, so we're talking about putting good folks in these homes now. Have you had any, I mean, let's, how do I say this in a non, like where it sounds correct? So most people, most people that would want to get into some sort of owner financing situation, most people, whatever percentage that might be, over 50%, most people are not ready to really buy a home. They think they are, but they're not necessarily ready to stay somewhere for the next 5-10 years and pay every month and pay the taxes and pay insurance and do the repairs. So have you had any bad stories yet when it comes to putting, people that you thought were good quality folks in your homes? And then how did that work out?
Yeah, there's a lot of correlation with less than favorable tenants and getting started early on in business compared to where I'm now. So I can say I think it was maybe might have been my third property. We had the matter of fact, it's hard to say this. They're good people. They just had a couple of things happen to them that were unforeseen, and this was our first repossession. And the funny thing was, I wouldn't say it's funny, but there was no cash for keys swap or anything. They kind of evicted themselves, if you will. One day, found out that they weren't there anymore. Matter of fact, I was traveling. I was in Cambodia for a mission trip, and found out lot rent wasn't paid. The park reached out to me saying, "Hey, so and so moved," and that was my first experience of eviction. Well, we sent our crew out there. They fixed up the home, and by the time I got back from the trip, we had already had people going in the home and seeing it and seeing that they liked it. And I think it was 7 days later, we had somebody put another down payment on that home. That was our first bad experience, and it wasn't all that bad. Now to get more, I'm trying to think of other tenants. We had a younger couple, and we still have a younger couple. I won't mention any names. I don't know if that makes a bit of a difference, but just somebody's going to be out there like, "Oh, I know who that person is." I think his last name's Johnson. I don't know if that's going to... Anyways, you guys ever do that? You're just talking. You're like, "What? Why did you say that?" Anyways, keep that on video. So But we have a younger couple in a home right now, and they had consistently for the first 4 months paid 5 days late, 6 days late, and it was very, very clear to them, or maybe it wasn't, maybe because I was so new, that things need to be paid by the first. Anytime after that, it's considered late. And we just saw a handful of issues, where they weren't paying through our Cozy payment service provider. They were wanting us to come pick up checks, or they wanted to meet for checks. We got our lives to live, and I had to get pretty firm with who I was to them, and that was, I'm not your landlord. You own this home, so you need to take care of the exterior of the home, because I've driven in that park and I see some trash out there, and that really does cause a hiccup in relationships with the park management, and that also makes me look bad. And I told him, I'm like, I'm not afraid to serve you guys with a notice if this happens again, if you guys aren't paying on time. The first is due. I don't care if the funds don't hit the account by the first. I just need to see that it's pending. And when I got very detailed, I wasn't a jerk or anything. I think that's the number one thing to turn you off. I know that when people are a jerk to me, I almost want to do the complete opposite of what they're asking. But I just kind of put them. I wanted them to be in a position of where I was coming from and understanding that. And I also wanted to be in a position of where they were coming from if there was any sort of financial delays. And lo and behold, we really broke it down and understood what the problem was. And it was just simple laziness. And I didn't have to say that to them, but they were able to say it to themselves after probing enough questions. And the last 3 months have been paid on time. So, it worked.
That's awesome. So that's, I mean, that sounds actually not that bad at all. I mean, it's just people that you have to, put in line sometimes, and or just, I mean, if somebody that's listening to this video, I know when I first started real estate, I hated confrontation, or I just didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe that's what it was. I'd had very little experience, and no, these are ultimately, we need to stand up for our business and, just do what we agreed to and hold other accountable for what they agree to. So, totally right. Totally right. So you mentioned park managers. How many different, you have all these properties. How many different parks would you say that you're involved with now?
Okay. I think I was counting this the other day. I think we're at about, like 8 or 9 parks.
Ooh, nice.
Which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
We have a couple homes in each of these parks. I think one park we have maybe 5, 6 homes in. Constantly we're growing. We want to make sure that those relationships are out there. I know that there's a manufactured home convention going on this week in Arizona. I think his name's Michael Clayton of Clayton Homes is speaking at the event, big golf tournament. So I'm sending out Tammy, my assistant, to that this week, and build some relationships. And that's really the name of our business. We just want to continue to build park relations, provide value to cleaning up these parks. There's a lot of parks that you could just walk in there and say, man, there's a lot of potential because maybe you've been in a nicer park. And if we can be of value, put our own money into these homes, know that we're not there to poach, we're not there to move homes. We're there to be in it with them, build up their community, bring them qualified tenants. If there's any issues with the tenants, it's a phone call away for us to get this figured out. And that'll be something that I end up delegating eventually. Right now, it's me taking those calls, like I mentioned. But that's the scope of our business, is just park relationships at this point of where 98% of our business is consisting of.
How do you ever talk to the actual owners, or are you just pretty much dealing with the managers of the?
So we've gone above park managers recently, which is nice. We have a couple of district managers that have actually contacted us just to test this out and see how it works. I have had a few owners call me in parks that I definitely didn't want to work in. So I guess I felt happy that they were contacting us, but it just wasn't the parks that we were at. So every day is just kind of like, hey, let's just keep building our name, building our brand, and eventually we'll get somebody. I know that that's a goal of ours, is to have these guys contacting us, and we already have district managers calling, so that's cool.
But you're putting yourself in these situations. I know that you've done advertising to these folks. You've reached out, and you know what you're talking about. You can speak the lingo now. You can talk, educate it. You have some experience, a lot of experience. Keep doing it. I mean, I know you're not going to slow down by any stretch of the imagination.
I walk into these parks and I say, guys, I'm John Fedro certified. You want to
work? They're like, you get out of here right now. We don't want to hear kind of.
I give my certificate.
Did they? So that's huge. Like, we do provide a value. I mean, that's something that, like, I think a lot of parks are being, well, not a lot of parks. Some parks, there's obviously more like education, or there's a spotlight shown towards, mobile home parks now. Like, more money's going into it. There's more investors looking at mobile home parks. And these people that are being taught, they're being taught by like a few companies, that teach mobile home park investing. And usually those companies are like pro what we're doing. Hey, work with an investor, work with these, somebody that knows what they're talking about, obviously, not some jerk that's going to steal your homes or lie to you, but someone just like you, Brandon, that, I mean, you're providing a huge asset to parks that some of these owners don't really know what they're doing. You have way more experience than some of these owners. So. Yeah,
it's interesting. There's you find a lot of, I mean, gosh, now that I think about that, we've had some owners give us a call that planted some money in a park. They were definitely big money guys, and maybe they just didn't know what they were really doing and needing some assistance. So we've seen that happen a couple of times. It's funny you bring that up, because I'm supposed to have a phone call at the end of the month with a guy that kind of did something like that. And they see a lot of value in us, and I think the biggest thing that you can really do to help this segment of investors, or this sector of investors, I should say, is goes back to congruency. I mean, do what you say you're going to do. What really damns the investor like you and I is perhaps saying that you're not going to move a home out of a park and then you do. I have nothing against people that do that. There's a lot of money to be made, but I have seen it be much harder for us to build up relationships when people say they're going to do something and they end up doing the opposite. So I don't know. I certainly don't want to go down a patchy area where that maybe there's a listener out there that's listening to this, but I think that there are a lot of parks that see value in us, but sometimes that gets grayed out. Sometimes it gets shaded out because of maybe some Joe Schmo that goes in there and does something that they really don't even know what they're doing. And all of a sudden they just hurt the park. So I know for us, I will be very firm in saying that we do what we preach, and we're going to stick to that. And I say once you preach it, you live it, and you really can't turn back on that. So that's been huge for us, and I think that's why we've seen a lot of success with those 8 or 9 parks that are working with us.
So I love that. Once you preach it, live it. Is that how you said it?
Once you preach it, live it.
I like that a lot. I mean, we've talked so much. We could talk for another couple hours. I don't know if you noticed about me, but I don't know if you saw my tattoo, my sleeve, and I usually keep it hidden, this thing, and so we've been having such a good talk that I haven't brought that up. I
hope that the listeners right now have made it this far in the conversation to say, what is that?
I wanted to bring it up so much sooner, but I ran out last night because I knew we were going to record this. And I got myself all sleeved up.
That is awesome.
Has your there's the thumbnail right there. All right, boom. Do you has that been any sort of like I have a few tattoos, but you wouldn't be able to see them. And me, in my mind, I'm such a baby sometimes, or I'm so worried about what other people think. Is that does that have any? Do you feel like that has any bearing, or people sort of second guess you, or anything like that?
It's so interesting. I've had my tattoos. I've had my sleeve for maybe 4 or 5 years, and it's such a part of me that you almost forget about it until someone calls you out, or you wonder why someone's looking at you strangely, and you're like, oh, I forgot about that, because it might be, you've seen it for 4 years, but they've seen it for the first time. I get it. I've seen a lot more people. I've felt, this is a feeling, and this goes back to just being more confident. I've felt that being a younger guy and going in there with a little bit of knowledge, I wouldn't say a lot, but consistently growing in that area, that there's been more of that feeling of, does this person judging me based on who I am as a young adult versus a guy with tattoos? Maybe that also applies to it as well. Not only is he, some, mid-20s, 26-year-old kid, maybe it's looked at that way, but he's got tattoos as well. I felt that might go just down to confidence, and confidence is huge. We live by 4 competencies, or 4 cores, and that would be being congruent, building on your confidence, growing your communication, and the last one would be confidence, communication, congruency, and commitment, being committed. So I try to work on all of those things to help build up my values inside of myself so that I can go into these calls, go into these parks, and not have any sort of feeling of, okay, am I going to get judged because of my tattoos? But it's funny, too. When I started raising capital with investors, majority of my investors are older folks. So I thought, oh, wow, this could be an interesting conversation. Going in there, granted, I don't show up with baggy jeans or anything. I go in there looking pretty clean, but I'm not scared to show off my tattoos, and never had any problem with my investors. So I'm very thankful. I think I got off a phone call before I hopped on here with my investors, and they're some country folks from Colorado, good people. I met in person, shook their hand, and not a single judge involved. I think it's really what you preach, live it, and especially on Facebook. I mean, you're going to be a certain way in person, be that certain way on Facebook. Don't be the opposite. People want to know, and that's what's helped me. Because I have people research all the time me on Facebook. I say, go ahead, please do, because I live it, I don't always do the best I can. I don't always do the best, but I definitely do the best I can. And I think it really helps kind of settle that image of who you are to other people's eyes.
And if they want to judge you so quickly before even listening to how
Yeah.
competent and how much you care, and they want to judge you and be gone, be rid of you, it's like we can just say next. There's plenty of other people to talk to. Anything? I have still just a list of questions, but we've been on this call for now over an hour. Anything that you'd like to add before we leave, or just thank you so much for being here as well. But
Of course, of course. Number one thing that I can think of off the top of my head is set an end date for when you're going to quit your job. Set a dollar amount that you need to put in place that will make you comfortable in leaving that job, and attack it. And if I didn't have someone to tell me that, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Be okay to be scrutinized. Be okay to be, I guess, criticized would be the better word. But continue to grow with others that are growing as well, and stop living at a lower level and hanging out with the lower level people. I've noticed that hang out with people that are doing things better than you. And when I live that motto and I hang out with, John, and understand kind of where he's coming from and how he would do a certain deal versus what I'm doing, it helps me understand, okay, maybe that's the missing piece of this dang puzzle to help move on and grow this business. So it's just huge to surround yourself. And I can count, I don't know how many times people saying that to me, and really not listening, but you realize that, you start thinking, oh, maybe I can do it my way. No, don't try to change up the game, man. If it works, freaking follow the path. And I just hope that more and more people reach out to you that are interested in investing in real estate, and they want to try this niche business model. And I tell you guys, whoever's listening, John is the real deal. He has given me nothing but, he's given me more advice than I've paid him. And I feel like I'm in debt to him for a long time. So however many podcasts I need to make with you until you have 70,000 followers, John, I'll do it for free. I got you, man. So you just let me know.
All right, let's do it. 70,000. All right, 70,000 is the new goal for subs.
Maybe you already have
That's it. Thank you so much again for coming on, seriously, and for trying to come on, and yeah, redoing. Keep up everything. I'll be here. Reach out to me. I'm just a phone call away. But thank you so much again for being on, and for just opening up your business and telling of all the amazing. I mean, this video has been gold, and a lot of nuggets people can take away. So thank you again.
Yep, glad to be on here. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.